On a stormy night, when the wind howled like a pack of hungry wolves, Evelyn found herself driving through the winding roads of the countryside, seeking refuge from the relentless storm. The rain pelted her windshield with such ferocity that she could barely make out the path ahead. Desperation led her to an old turn-off she hadn't noticed before, leading up a narrow, neglected driveway. At the end of the path loomed an ominous mansion, its silhouette stark against the flickering sky. It was a vast and decaying edifice of a bygone era, with turrets reaching out like skeletal fingers towards the churning clouds. The wind seemed to gather around it, swirling and whispering secrets it had held for many decades. With no other options, Evelyn parked her car near the mansion's entrance, clutching her coat tightly around her as she dashed for the hulking doors. They creaked open with a slow, mournful groan that echoed through the grand but dilapidated foyer. Faded tapestries hung from the walls, and a grand staircase swept upwards into darkness, its red carpet moth-eaten and frayed. The house felt alive, its walls pulsating with an unsettling energy that made the hairs on Evelyn's neck stand on end. She called out, hoping to find someone, anyone, but her voice was swallowed by the oppressive silence. As she ventured deeper into the mansion, lightning illuminated the shadowy halls, casting grotesque shadows that twisted and writhed in a macabre dance. Her footsteps were muffled by the damp, decaying carpet as she explored room after room, each revealing glimpses of a time long past. Portraits of stern-looking ancestors lined the walls, their eyes following her with a disapproving glare. Suddenly, from the corner of her eye, Evelyn caught movement, a fleeting figure darting past the doorway at the end of the hall. Skeptical, yet feeling an icy fear descending upon her, she decided to investigate. The figure, whether real or illusion, drew her through the labyrinthine corridors to a narrow servants' staircase leading down into the bowels of the house. With each step, the air grew colder, the darkness more profound. Her heart hammered in her chest, a frantic drumbeat against the silence. At the bottom, she found herself in a cavernous kitchen, the remnants of past feasts still lingering. The wind outside shrieked, as if mourning something lost. And then she heard it, a soft, mournful sobbing coming from a door on the far side of the room. Driven by a mixture of empathy and dread, she approached and hesitated, the weight of ancient sorrow pressing against her. She opened the door to find a small, candle-lit chamber, barren except for a single rocking chair facing the wall. In it sat a figure, indistinct and shrouded in shadow. "Are you okay?" Evelyn asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The figure stopped its gentle rocking. A chill swept through the room as it turned to face her. Evelyn staggered back, suppressing a scream. The figure was no longer corporeal, its features flickering like the flame of an almost dying candle. It spoke in a voice cracked and brittle with age and despair. "He waits for me," it intoned, a spectral hand pointing towards the far corner, where shadows gathered thickly. As Evelyn followed its gaze, the shadows coalesced, forming into a grotesque visage of anger and loss. Panic surged within her, and she bolted from the room, plunging back into the labyrinthine corridors. The mansion seemed to pulse with a frenetic energy, doors slamming of their own accord, walls vibrating under some unseen pressure. She raced towards the light spilling in from the foyer, desperate to escape as the spectral wails crescendoed behind her. Bursting through the front door, Evelyn stumbled back into the storm, the rain now feeling less hostile than the haunted confines of the mansion. Exhausted, she leaned against her car, the wind tearing at her hair, the house watching her with its empty windows, as though it were a predator considering its next move. She didn't waste another moment. Wrenching open the car door, Evelyn started the engine and sped away, the mansion growing smaller in her rearview mirror, yet never quite leaving her mind. In the chilling months that followed, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of hearing distant footsteps behind her in empty rooms. The mansion never let her forget, its stormy night now intricately woven into her life, a shadow looming ever larger, waiting patiently from afar for her inevitable return.